Hello.
Complainer. He's a complainer. We're going to have to
Uh-oh.
take away his rights if he keeps complaining. We don't allow it here. On this channel, we don't allow that. Oh, it's Nitty. How about that? He actually
There he is.
he showed up.
All right, what's up?
Hey,
Hey,
I wanted to yell at you.
okay.
Yeah. The whole conversation you had with Kafai, you didn't realize it was Kafai?
No, they're banned on my channel.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I've been having a conversation with him for over 10 years.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I have a folder on my desktop that says Kafai on it. And I
Oh,
have
I'm sorry.
thousands of posts back and forth between me and him about how this whole thing proves God. But I just wanted to make a couple corrections, basically. For one, mystical experiences are a thing that are commonly experienced by human beings. I think somewhere between 10 and 30% of us have had them. And so it is a state, basically. And Johns Hopkins did a study on psychedelics, and they did that questionnaire, which is, as you pointed out, they rely on subjective reports, right, of different qualities, right? And they came up with a common experience that human beings have under psychedelics and under certain forms of meditation, under epileptic seizures, certain kinds of brain damage, certain kinds of head injuries, and a whole bunch of drugs that basically they give them. And we can call that a mystical experience, but we're not saying that it points to God or to some spiritual, supernatural bullshit, right? There's absolutely no reason to take that step. And as it turns out now, Kafai loves Roland Griffiths, because when Roland Griffiths did, he headed up the research at Johns Hopkins, and he's the one that authored that survey, or he had a lot to do with authoring that survey. And anyway, Roland Griffiths, yeah. When he first got into it, he went around and started giving talks, and he sounded like a woo head. And as a result, I really didn't care for Roland Griffiths, right? But then Roland Griffiths got cancer, stage 4 colon cancer, a couple of years ago. And he started doing mushrooms himself to deal with his own demise, because it was he had a terminal illness, basically. And he passed away last July, I think, or August. I think something like that. But anyway, he was on a couple of talk shows after he had cancer, and he said no. It basically, he was agnostic about the possibility of mind after death or whatever the hell, and he was not counting on it at all. So he sounded a whole lot more reasonable than he did in some of his overzealous talks. And so the important thing here, though, is that there is this experience that humans have, and you probably had it when you were still in the religion. You probably had moments where you felt this connection, right? I don't know. A lot of people do when they get into, like, when they're heavy believers. Okay, like if you believe in anything outside of yourself hard enough, you can get into a certain state of mind that can be described as a mystical state of mind, right? You have this really strong emotional feelings, and you don't have a whole lot of belief involved. Okay. And
I can grant that other people have certainly experienced something like that.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Now, I would have considered myself very religious and had experiences, but they are dissimilar to these drug-induced ones, because one, they were based in my reality framework.
Right.
And so those are a real experience because they are correlative to my beliefs, right?
Okay.
And I knew that they weren't drug induced, and they're categorically different because they were, in my opinion, at the time I had some level of free will to keep that experience going or terminate it. Right? I could just be like, no, 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 la 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 la, God, you're not there. I don't want to experience this right now. If that was what was going on. Or, like, oh, please, God, yes. And then just, for as long as possible without like some outside distraction, that experience would continue. So that's what I would say about my testimony of that. And so I would categorize the drug induction ones as having potential for erratic and inability to control those kinds of experiences. So like similarly to drinking alcohol, right? You don't really have like a full control of how intoxicated you get, except for like your imbibing amount. Even then, like how much you ate that day, where your immune system is at, all kinds of things factor into that. And I feel the same is true for psychedelics. You don't get as much of a choice as to how that interaction is similar to spiritual ones, if that makes sense.
It depends.
So I'm just talking about the dissimilarities between the two in my Christian worldview. So we can go back to making the point about mystical experiences as a category for human experience. Go.
So it depends on the dose, whether or not you have control over this. And not all people are going to feel this on a psychedelic. Usually you feel it on a psychedelic after you've gone through what I would call hazing, psychological hazing. Basically, sometimes the psychedelics take you on a journey that is so goddamn intense that at the end of it, you just sort of give up. And as soon as you give up, you have this remarkable experience. Now, that's the important part, because you can have these experiences as a result of an extreme level of anxiety and stress in your life. It's called a nervous breakdown, basically. That's what they used to call them when my mom had them. And some people are even hospitalized because all of a sudden everything just melts down for them and they have absolutely no way to be who they are anymore. Now, I had one of these experiences when I was 15 years old, and it was prior to doing any drugs at all. And it was, I didn't have any drugs in my system, maybe a little caffeine. And I had a major experience that lasted for about 3 days. And I've had a lot of psychedelic experiences. And I can tell you that the experience I had without the drugs was more powerful, I think, in a lot of ways than the psychedelic experience.
Okay.
But I was an atheist prior, I was an atheist during, and I was an atheist after. I've been an atheist all my life. So I mean, there was no reason to assign any kind of supernatural belief to it. And that's what Kafai keeps missing. And every time you try to nail them down, like on those brain scans, right? Okay, they've done brain scans and they can tell that you're in an extraordinary state when you're on a psychedelic. And those connectivity diagrams that he was showing you, where he had the one on the right and the one on the left.
Yeah.
Okay, what that shows, what they do is they have a statistical measure where they'll take a part of your brain called the seed, basically, and they measure the connectivity between all these different nodes in relation to that seed. And they come up with the fact that psychedelics interconnect your cortex to a tremendous degree, to a degree where you can no longer function sometimes, right? You couldn't drive a car, you may have trouble walking across the room because all of a sudden your brain is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's not, you have too much interconnectivity. Okay. So when you have that, you'll end up going through a psychological trauma of sorts. Like you'll remember shit that you never thought you'd remember. You will feel things from your past that you know had long forgotten. And so you go through this whole psychological thing. And at the end of it, there's sort of a giving up. And now the fight I had with Kafai is really interesting because he was telling me about this. He describes God in such uncommitted ways, right? You can never get him to commit to anything about his God. Not that
Right.
He doesn't believe in an anthropomorphic God at all. He believes in something way, way out there, way, way mystical, you know. And what I was describing to him is that that is the right direction that a mystic would go in. A mystic would completely disavow all belief, all religion, all conception of God. And he would just experience basically this raw human experience of being connected to everything, which is oddly what we feel when we disconnect our default mode network. And what I was trying to tell Kafai is that's all he was doing is bringing his ego back into it and saying that he knows what God is, right? He knows that atheists are wrong. He knows, you know, like he knows something about this God. He knows that it's something not natural, right? And in doing that, he's adopting a belief. And in adopting that belief, he is doing exactly what mystics would tell you not to do. Like mystics go for the pure experience with no belief. Now, and Christians
I like listening to some of the mystics.
yeah.
Now, some of their stuff is a little woo, but other things they say does seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, as long as you don't try to like come up and say, oh, God exists or God doesn't exist, or you're going to have a mind after death or any other kind of dogmatic belief, then you're on the right track. And the right track turns out to be kind of peaceful, and it feels really good to human beings. But the thing is, a lot of atheists discount that mystical experience. And as long as we keep discounting it, we're going to have a lot of people that are saying, hey, fuck you. I felt something really important. And you're telling me, you're gaslighting me, basically. You're telling me I didn't feel it, right? It's like, no, I felt this thing. What is it? Oh, you got a fuck you sign?
That's my Bigfoot. That's my Bigfoot fuck you right there.
The point is, there is something, there is a human condition that can be called a mystical experience. Number one. Number two, we don't want to discount this experience. It's really important in how people adopt religious belief. And number three, for all the religious fucktards out there, don't believe in shit. You know, that's not what it's about. You're just going to screw the experience up if you go out and adopt a belief like Kafai has. And
okay, so, well, one atheist. Kafai saying we're straw manning him, so that's fun. So. And two, it like that whole discussion on skeptics and scoundrels made it incredibly frustrating to differentiate what you're talking about. Like, because I can just grant all of that. Yeah. And like, oh yeah, if your definition then of mystical is the shared subjective experiences that are deemed natural but induced by psychological effects or drugs, done. We're done here. Like, I have no gripes. I'll just leave.
Good. Okay. We're on the same page. Now, I'm never going to be on the same page as Kafai. He keeps saying I'm misrepresenting him. I don't.
Well, so, you know, the objectivity is difficult because of the self-reporting, and by objectivity I mean induction to chemical X at dose X will result in experience Y 100% of the time, right? Which would be like empirical proof that this part of the mystical experience is completely figured out. It's one-to-one. It can't be misreported. Right. Maybe, but here's another problem is that people may not have all the words to create that one-to-one correlation.
Yeah.
Another problem is that our biology is all over the place, right? I could have a twin, and you could argue that we have a different biology.
Yeah.
Because we eat just slightly different amount of food. Like it can literally come down to a molecule or two, right? Or a gut bacteria. So that's fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't have this experience, basically.
Okay, hold on. So 1218 here, Kai-Fei says, that's why even peer-reviewed studies, they refer to these experiences non-dual experience. Wait, okay, non-dual. Okay, so I misread that. Because if you said they were dualistic, then that's just out the window, driving me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go from dual to non-dual to back to dual again in just a flick of a word, right? I mean, you can conceive of these things in many different ways, but anyway, the non-dual experience is pretty obvious. What it does is it shuts down the network in your brain that keeps you feeling like you know where you are, what you are, and what you're doing. Okay. Not that kind of misrepresents it in a way, but it shuts down the part of your brain that can make you feel like you're an ego, like you're separate. So they talk about ego disillusion, because ego is a brain construct that we learn to have at a very early age, and we keep for our entire lives. And we run on something on this default mode network. And this default mode network may keep us locked into certain beliefs, like Trump isn't an asshole might be a belief that a person could have.
What an odd belief.
And you get locked. And basically you wake up every day and you boot up your default mode network. Well, these drugs shut them.
Okay, I mean, this has all made sense to me.
Yeah. And when you
now it does.
Yeah.
When whatever we were talking about on Eric's channel, I just was frustrated.
Yeah, it is frustrating to talk to Kafai because he keeps spinning these words, and all he's doing is bringing a greater kind of ego back into the discussion. And it's sort of the ego of, I got the right belief. But, when somebody's had it, like every time you tried to pin him down and get him to produce evidence, he would point out a paper, and then you look at the paper and you say, well, that doesn't really do it for me. And then he'd zip back to something else. And the truth of the matter is that he had a profound experience. And like when a little goose hatches, the first thing it sees is its mama. That happens to you on psychedelics. When you go on a high enough dose, when you come back down, the first fucking belief you have might be something that ends up being imprinted in your brain pretty seriously. And Kafai had that experience. And I feel bad for him because he's missing the fucking point. Anyway. And I've been around, like I say, I've got I think 10,000 posts back and forth with me and him. Kafai, what platform were we talking on? I can't even remember. It was some kind of bulletin board or some fucking thing where we were talking. But anyway, so my point is that as atheists, we don't want to discount these goddamn experiences because these are very powerful. And
I don't think that's what I was doing. Did you think that's what I was doing?
I kind of got that impression a couple times.
Oh,
flew off.
Sorry.
Yeah, I flew off the handle. But anyway,
well, hang on. I was discounting them as proof of God.
Right.
And that's where my tone probably got annoying or dismissive, but that's not what I meant to do. So should I apologize for that? I don't really want to, but
okay, I'm a dogmatic asshole in that when somebody says mystical and then they conflate it with the word supernatural, I get pissed.
Spiritual.
Mystical is an actual human experience, right? That would be like telling everybody every time they're afraid that they believe in woo, because because fear is possible or something. So,
Okay, and
yeah.
So just to interrupt, I think outside of this circle, maybe, I don't know, because I'm not, particularly subscribed to any mystic communities,
Yeah.
but maybe freaking no. I would say that there are people maybe new to this whole discussion that don't like that's a word without a difference to them,
Yeah.
right? So mystic, spiritual, and what was the other one?
Supernatural.
Supernatural. All those things kind of blend together, right? Like,
and we need to stop.
yeah, and that's the other thing that's annoying when I'll just say we is like that kind of lay person with regard to mysticism. I think of like the fucking crystal shop that we have in the middle of town.
Oh,
It's
we
like,
got them too.
go buy a crystal, rub it all over your body, and you'll feel the sensations of belief and euphoria. It's the pink one. Ooh, what do you get to the jade in your asshole?
Oh, we got a store like that. It's called Rock Crystal Cave or some fucking thing. And I went in there and we bought some tea, and she run this gong around. They have like this bowl that hums when you run a little thing. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, she did that and she blessed us and blessed our purchase. And I'm like, holy fuck! I was afraid when I walked in there that the woo would blow me down and I'd fall back on the sidewalk. I had to hold.
Actually, Speed, I think I just had a mystical experience.
You did
during that whole, yeah. And I hope everyone in chat did too.
Oh, I hope so. Anyway.
Robin saw my the video somebody made about me. I'm famous now. Somebody actually put me in a video. I'm famous.
Yeah. Anyway,
our good friend.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Well,
Jimbo.
I'm gonna go eat something. Thank you for clearing this whole thing up.
Yeah.
And I think we agree now, so that makes me happy.
Yeah. If you agree that we got to be careful when we're using words, and we're talking about things that we don't discount what people from religion feel, because they sure as fuck feel something powerful. And as long as we discount it, we're never going to get through to them. We're never going to convince them that the dogma is the problem, not the feeling, right? Because I walk around all day and I feel like when Christians talk about their connection to God and Jesus, I feel that every day of my life, right? But I'm an atheist. It's like, what? I mean, we have to separate the experiences from this supernatural bullshit,
Right?
And dispel the dogma, because the dogma is fucking killing us in this country. So anyway,
no woo for you.
Yeah, no woo for you. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll see ya.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Nitty.
Bye.
Yeah.
I'll be lurking.
Look away. No one's ever OD'd on DMT. We lost somebody from psilocybin the other day, but it wasn't psilocybin. These ashrams, they charge you like $2,000 and they supply you with mushrooms and they give you an experience. Well, they were supplying their patrons with poisonous mushrooms and they killed
Oops.
Yeah. Put 4 in the hospital and killed another one. It's like, oh my goodness.
It's not something to mess around with. If you don't know what you're doing,
right? Don't eat fucking
mushroom. You don't know what. Yeah. No.
In Minnesota, we've had the wettest year ever. And I just watched a news article. They normally have about 20 people in that from mushroom poisoning a year. They're up to 90 already this year. People are going out and eating all this shit, and they're not, And mushrooms can really fuck you up. There's 2 kinds of poison mushrooms. The first kind gives you diarrhea and makes you throw up, and that's the good kind. Yeah, the bad kind, you don't feel the symptoms for about 8 hours when your kidneys shut down. And then you
Ooh.
go down from there. Anyway. Okay. So Jim Knob. Jim Knob.
Yeah, I'm famous now. Jim Knob totally destroyed me yesterday.
He did.
Yeah, I'm still feeling it.
Because Jim Knob knows all about scientific theories, and he's he's somebody we should really listen to. He's read all the philosophy of science books. He's read.
He knows all about Noah's Ark, and it was real too. So.
Yeah, and he knows that we didn't really land on the moon, and he knows gravity is bullshit because the atmosphere doesn't escape into space.
There's no plate tectonics.
Yeah, no plate tectonics. What else? Oh, what else did he come up with yesterday? It was something else. Oh shit. I'll think of it in a minute, but there was some other crazy ass thing he came up with. It's like, what the fuck? Something else he didn't believe. Oh my goodness. Anyway.
Yeah, the day before yesterday, Big Bad Mama was lurking over there and poking, and he always brings up Noah's Ark and all the things, and you believe all these silly things, and well, yeah, I believe it because Christian things and they make sense and this and that, and it's miracles, but science is dumb.
Yeah.
The reason that people shouldn't get an education is because you'll go into debt.
Oh, is that another one?
Yep. So he's too smart to have ever gotten an education.
Yeah, right.
Because he's not in debt to a student loan or anything. So.
Yeah.
And I agree, people should not go into debt to go to school. We should have a public option for universities.
Didn't Biden do something for under $80,000? Something about?
They some little tidbits.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying about Harris right now and Bernie Sanders is that Bernie Sanders wants some assurances before he gives you a endorsement. So apparently she hasn't talked to him yet, and she should, saying, hey, this, that, and sometimes it's not the whole big package, but like you said, maybe they'll do this here, that, to help out some, and that's better than none. And
to be careful.
Bernie he's got a lot of years in, he knows a lot of people, and agree or disagree, those are the people you need to talk to.
Bernie Sanders almost got me killed. He did a stump speech at the Minnesota Fair, and my ex-wife was with me, and she wanted to go see him. So we went into the crowd, and holy shit, people were just packing in to listen to this man. And we never did see him. We could hear him, but we couldn't see him, and we were only about 20 feet away, and we damn near got trampled. So he has some influence. He has some power. A lot of people like him. But Big Bad Mama said something about Noah's Ark, and then she put, you believe in Noah's Ark, and then she put a bunch of emojis, and he said, oh yeah, you never have an argument. It's like, okay, Jim Bob.
What argument? It's nonsense.
When mom and dad sat you down and said Santa doesn't really exist, did they have to give you an elaborate philosophical argument? Did they have to show you evidence?
What was the syllogism, and what was the hypothesis for the observation that Santa Claus did not exist?
Like, I don't even know where to start with somebody that believes in Noah's Ark and a worldwide flood and the fountains of the deep and all that shit. I don't even know how to start tackling that kind of stupid. I mean, it's just, oh my goodness.
Well, it was your fault.
Yeah.
You were snooping over there, and then I started watching.
Oh yeah. It was my fault. I did it.
So I had to get on as the grass man because my other stuff was blocked. And so I said, and then he figured out who I was, because I wasn't trying to hide it or anything. But so Yeah, and then so I went on there, and basically the chat was all lit up. They said something about evolution, and of course you hear all the things. Oh, you think you're a monkey or you're a rock or all that.
Oh yeah.
So I always say the same thing. I was like, what does the evolution theory of evolution state that you disagree with? And you hear the same replies. Oh, you think you're a rock and it's like, well, that's not what it says. So Jim Bob said, oh, why don't you come on here, this and that and everything. I'm like, I ain't coming on there, right? So so then oh, coward, and I was like, I don't like to be called, I don't like being called out. I said, look, if you can tell me what the theory of evolution says without Googling it, I said, I'll come on and talk to you. So he said, well, theory of evolution is about allele frequencies changing over populations over time, this, that. And I was like, hey, I'm impressed. So I went on there.
Yeah. Yeah, he did pretty good with that.
And all I wanted him to do was say, do alleles change over populations? And he said, yeah. And then the rest of it that he wrecked me on, I really didn't care about.
You believe in the theory. And then he goes ahead and he tries to double down and say evolution isn't a theory. Well,
yep.
Oh, fuck. I can't think of a quick analogy, but
yeah, it's not a theory, and he's going to show me why with his logical arguments or blah blah blah. And it's like it's already a theory. It's denying it's a theory is and every time I try to say, well, a couple times I got it in that. Look, I was talking about evolution, and he keeps talking, he wants to go here, there, and all these things. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I was just talking about what does the theory of evolution say? And is it observable? Because he's all about, you have to observe it. I was like, can you observe alleles changing over populations? And he said yes. And I was like, okay, well, I'm done.
Yeah. So Big Bad Mama posted the video that they did on Jim Bob, and I can't link it because I don't have your channel fired up, but that was pretty good too. And
so he said I dishonestly edited. It's like, hey, you can go watch it. The rest of it I cut out because I didn't care. It's just, this is the very beginning. He said hi. I said, hey, you actually know what it says. So let me ask you a question. Boom. And then I threw in a little bit of contradiction on there.
Should we listen to it?
Just to feel. Yeah, you can if you want. It's only a few minutes. It's my other channel.
Your other channel? What's your channel? What's your other channel name?
Captive Desk.
I know, but the name
this
in the chat.
This is the Grassman Chronicles.
Is that
mostly cryptids?
Okay. So is Grassman Chronicles another channel?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the channel difference? You do Captive Desk as your set. Can you? I've never heard that
like
term.
Bigfoot.
Do you put those in the same category as God? Bigfoot?
Yep. Yes. I like that. I loved when you said that.
You do? Okay. So I recited.
I was impressed. Very good. Very good.
Oh.
No one in the chat could do it, but you did it. And I'm going to say, you actually know what the theory of evolution states. Now, are changes in allele frequencies testable, demonstrable, and falsifiable?
Changes, you can observe changes in allele frequency.
Okay, then the theory of evolution is confirmed. And that's all I wanted right there.
A few moments later.
That's something you're not observing first.
Has allele frequencies been confirmed to change over populations? Yes, you said so.
No,
that is what the theory of evolution states.
No,
as
it
you
doesn't.
said.
No, it doesn't.
That's pretty good.
Well, he's fairly intelligent. He's full of shit.
Changes, you can observe changes in allele frequency.
That's what I thought you said. Now let me offer this as a rebuttal.
So what do you think, Grift?
We were talking about this before. It's like, he can't be that stupid. Okay.
Yeah.
He's just feeding the people in the chat that, you know, repeating stuff like, oh, you came from Iraq, like the Hawaiian shirt guy and all that stuff. And then they give him super chats and he's happy. But he knows what it says. Yeah. And I gave it to him. I was like, hey, I was impressed. It didn't look like he Googled it or anything. He just looked and he just kind of, you know, he had to was thinking and putting it together. So I was like, I don't think he cheated or anything. He basically recited what it says about allele frequencies changing over populations over time, over tracing genetics with generations or such, whatever definition you find. But they're all pretty similar. And if he hit any of the words, you know, I said, if you can hit any of it accurately, I said, I'll come on and talk to you. So he hit it. So I was like, okay. So I had to go on and talk to him. But it only lasted a few minutes, and I ended up telling him to F off, and I left. And that's what he posted about me.
Okay, Calasia 789. Okay, I gotta go. Yeah. Okay. Then he went on about, you know, how evolution is not a theory, right? And it's like, okay, theory of evolution is how they define what a theory is, actually. Like most of the thinking about what a theory is today is based on the theory of evolution. It's based on this model. And it's a little wider than just allele frequency changing over time, even though that's a really good definition, right? There's a hell of a lot. I mean, the theory of evolution, if you were to write it down as a description, would be a stack that probably would reach to the edges of the atmosphere, if not the moon. Okay. There's a whole lot to it. There's a whole lot.
Yeah. Obviously there's a lot more. I was just, you know, cause he likes to be this little stickler on things. Right. So I was just pointing out, as far as what the theory says, that part right there, can you, you know, is that testable? And oh yeah, you can see that happens. And it's like, well, then you're admitting to at least that piece of the theory of evolution. So you can't say it's not a theory or it's not true or anything else, because you just said that piece. Yeah, you can go to fossils and, you know, all the other things, but just that one piece he agrees with. And then he, at the same time, like you said, he turns around and then totally discounts it, just throws it all away. It says, well, it's not really a theory anyways, when if you pull up scientific theory, guaranteed it's going to have the theory of evolution listed as one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard to deal with him. He wanted me to get on after, and I was going to get on, but they wouldn't unblock me in chat. So I told him, eventually I said, fuck you. You know,
yeah, that's why I had to go to Grassman. I think my Dave is even blocked, because I was saying, you know, I was putting comments up and nothing. As soon as I popped in with Grassman, 10 people are, you know, commenting and everything, and Jim Bob notices and everything else. So yeah. They all had, the other ones have to be blocked. And yeah, we didn't see you in there either. So.
Yeah, you can't see me unless I go in as Mike Bruznak.
He did tell his mods to unblock you. I don't know if they did or not, but he did say
they didn't
unblock answers and atheism.
Yeah. Oh, let's see here. Okay, Jim Bob, I'm looking at.
But I got sucked in. Thanks to you, and Joe at the Kentucky Atheist was on too. And it's like every time I try to get out, I get sucked back in.
Oh, let's see here.
But I just wanted, you know, you notice I went right in and I said, boom, 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 asked my question. And that's what I wanted. And anything else he said after that, I really didn't care. Make fun of me and, you know, oh, you know, I just listened to the scientists, yuck, yuck. And well, I told Mike earlier, I was like, and yet in universities all around the globe today, well, unless they're on break, they're teaching biology.
Yeah, every textbook written, every book on evolution, except for, you know, the religious have written a few books on evolution. But every single book, every textbook calls it the theory of evolution. And they call it the theory of evolution because of this stuff right here. Scientific theory. Basically, what is a scientific theory? Okay. It's a science, it's an explanation of an aspect of the natural world and universe that can be repeatedly tested and corroborated in accordance with the scientific method using accepted protocols of observation, measurement, and evaluation. Where possible, theories are tested under controlled conditions in an experiment. So you take a part of it and you test it, right? In circumstances not amenable to experimental testing, theories are evaluated through principles of abductive reasoning. And that's what that comes into play when you're dealing with the past, like 300 million years ago until now. The only thing that we can do is use our reasoning to basically logically determine whether or not what we're observing now can explain the past. And the theory of evolution is concerned about that probably 70% of the time, right? We're trying to explain how species diverged and how we ended up with the animals that we have today, and why the animals we have today have genomes that create these phylogenetic trees. And we have all of this stuff, and it's a huge body of information, a theory. It's not just one little thing.
And the theory of evolution doesn't explain weather, tornadoes, rainbows, or jabs at the LGBTQ community either, Jim Knob. Okay? It just explains an aspect of the natural world. And it's something creationists like to do is, oh, you believe in evolution, we'll explain all these other things in the universe. And it's like, no. There's no universal theory of everything. And he asked, well, what if was something about what if trees were talking to each other or something? I don't know. And I said, he goes, would that be a theory? And it's like, well, if you put together enough information about trees doing something, yeah, then it could be a theory. If you have, all this, what is it, corroborating and supporting evidence, I believe was.
Right. Yeah.
And you can be elevated to a theory. Sure.
Like, okay.
And of course, then again, that's kind of like a jab at me, where he's trying to, oh yeah, you can talk to trees and be a scientific theory. And it's like, well, technically, yeah, if you could talk to trees.
Okay, about 20 years ago, somebody published a paper indicating that trees are talking to each other, right?
Yeah, they actually do. Yeah.
And
I didn't go there, but it crossed my mind when he said it. I was like, well, trees do talk to each other.
yeah,
I didn't want to go there.
the thing is, in order for that paper to have been published, right, there had to be some research and a mechanism, a model had to be created for how this could happen. And it turned out to be these mycelial networks of fungus, right? So and then once you have that hypothesis, that model, and you got that model from some observations, right? She did observations, she came up with a model. Now we can go ahead and test that model over and over and over again. And if that model does not fail, if it is not falsified, then it becomes a valid theory, a valid scientific theory. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure why that happens. Established scientific theories have withstood rigorous scrutiny and embody scientific knowledge. The theory of evolution has withstood rigorous scrutiny and it embodies scientific knowledge. It connects with all the other knowledge, basically. Now there's, let's see what else we have here.
And they use it if you don't care about science, biology classes, or anything else, they use evolutionary models to make cures and treatments for many people out there that may not even know it, but it was based on an evolutionary model. And if you're feeling better today, that's great. And now you know why.
Yeah, I went ahead and asked ChatGPT what it thought. Okay, a scientific theory is a well-substantiated explanation of some aspect of the natural world. based on evidence gathered through observation and experimentation. And then you assume that the past was pretty much like the present, that natural laws have not radically changed. And then you look at the mechanisms, and then you come up with a model about how a species can diverge because of a change in allele frequency over time, right? And if all of that works, if the Christians have not falsified that, then the theory stands. You have to falsify the theory in order to take the theory
He
down.
thinks saying a nub falsifies evolution.
Yeah, he does.
This nub just decided to be something else. And it's like,
A penis nub is what he likes. He likes to talk about penis.
everything's a nub. Yeah, there was a nub on a rock and they decided to grow wings. And it's like, yeah, it's just, he tries to use, fancy philosophy talk or whatever, but it's still regurgitating some of the slimy creationists out there.
Yeah, he's memorized a few words.
And you think you came from a rock and stuff like that. Those things slide in there.
Yeah, and he's a talented YouTuber. He does a good show. He puts on a really good show, and he can talk a good talk. And when he gets on with somebody, he can pull a Tucker Carlson on him or whatever. He looks like Tucker Carlson half the time, his expressions, right? He does the whole Tucker Carlson thing, right? And we found out that Tucker Carlson was a big fucking fraud. Didn't even believe what he was saying, right? But Tucker Carlson was believable to millions of people. Anyway, so number one.
And I'll admit, okay, I'm not great off the cuff, okay? A lot of folks out there are, and that's why I'm not really interested in doing debates or anything like that. When I do my videos, I have notes and scripts in front of me, okay? Honestly, okay? I'm not great off the cuff, and I'm always worried about sitting there with dead air time going, right? So I have my stuff wrote out, okay? I'll admit it, right? But I also like to do that because it gives me time to fact check things, check my numbers, check my dates, check my names, look up the phonetics so you kind of, are close to pronouncing it right, and putting all that stuff in front of me. So, Jim Knob, of course, he's going to, throw a million things at me, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And, he thinks it makes me look bad. Fine. Okay, fine. But if you give me a minute, and this is something Aaron Rod realized with the Hawaiian shirt guy, debating him with his stick doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
But as soon as he challenged him to an individual, one topic at a time, back and forth email debate, Hawaiian shirt guy vaporized and disappeared.
Yep. Okay, so ChatGPT is really good at summarizing things. Key characteristics of a scientific theory include, based on evidence, predictive power. We can predict what's going to happen to populations, basically, of like insects and bacteria and whatever. Testable and falsifiable. There's got to be a way to falsify it. We can prove that. God, I don't know what it would be for speciation, but anyway, there's a way. Consistent, internally consistent, and is consistent with existing scientific knowledge. Now, that's a big one for theory of evolution, right? It's very, very big one right there. Has been consistent. Broad applicability, can explain a wide range of phenomena within its domain. Number 6, tentative and open to revision. Okay, there's two things. There's rejection of a theory, where the whole thing would be thrown out, and then there's revision, which is what happens to evolution every single day of the week, 24/7, all year long, every year since Darwin. Basically, it has been revised and made more specific. Right, we find new things about it. So that's what a theory is. Now, Scott brings up something important here. Would Jim Bob call Noah's Ark a theory and the worldwide flood? Is that a theory?
He said he says it's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Okay. Yeah. Well, if he's going to the miracle, then he's a little more honest than most Christians, because a lot of creationists want to say that God kicked it off, but that was where he stopped. Everything else was natural after that.
But he also throws it back at the naturalist or whatever, and he says, you have to believe in a miracle of, whatever, the universe or life or whatever and stuff. So he's also using it as the Ken Ham thing of I'm rubber, you're glue. He's saying, yeah, I believe in a miracle, but so do you. Your science is just a miracle. See, so I know, like I said, he's a lot more slick with how he does it. But if you go through the transcript, yeah, you'll find that those little tidbits there, and you can trace them right back to Ken Ham or Hawaiian Shirt Guy or whoever. He slips them in there.
Yeah, if when you were a child and the first time you saw a match light or a fire start, or the first time you turned on a radio, you might have thought that was a miracle because you didn't know what was involved in causing that to happen. Now, most people, your average human being in the United States, looks at the beginning of life and evolution as a miracle because they have not looked into it that deeply. And it is miraculous. I mean, it's a miraculous thing that my body right now with 30 trillion cells manages to keep going for 73 fucking years. I mean, when you start looking into the brain and what actually has to happen in the brain in order to keep you alive, I'm like, holy shit, I just don't believe this is still working. But anyway, so yeah, it seems like a miracle to people. And that's where you're either going to trust the established scientific academia, or you're going to go off on your own and pretend that you know more than all these other people. You got a choice, right? Because yeah, it seems miraculous.
That's something Rebecca didn't like hearing from me when I said creationists just want to pat themselves on the back. Look how smart I am.
Yeah, I'm smarter than everybody else.
I know better than everybody out there. I look how smart I am. And look at the orange candidate says it all the time. I know more about this than anybody. No matter what the topic is, I know more about it than anybody. And Elon does it too. I know more about this than anybody. I know more about this than anybody.
Yeah, Trump is the best golfer in the world,
Yeah, I seen him putting.
Yeah. Yeah, he missed 2 times.
He missed every time. But some of them weren't even close. I mean, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
So here's another thing Jim Bob likes to talk about is the scientific method, and he says observation. And what he failed to understand is observation, and it's a iterative device, right? You observe, then you go ahead and you come up with a hypothesis, or you formulate a question, you come up with a hypothesis, you experiment, you do data collection, you do analysis, you conclude something, and you go back to observation again. And it's iterative over and over again.
And those are the ones I was hitting on base. I mean, I wasn't going through the entire thing, but I was saying, well, hey, you have observation, you can observe the data, and you can come to a conclusion, right? So, again, I'm not word for word here, but I was using those 3, and it's like, no, you can't do that. You can't get a conclusion from the scientific method or something like that. And I'm just like, what the hell are you talking about? So I asked him, well, what method are you using? Well, we agreed using the scientific method. And it's just like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's just, it's so frustrating.
We also have replication, and then we have theory development. If a hypothesis is repeatedly tested, consistently supported by evidence, it may contribute to the development or refinement of scientific theory. Now, when people believe in evolution, as I do, we don't just believe in it because of faith or whatever. We question it, and we go out and we try to find plausible mechanisms. And if I couldn't find a plausible mechanism for something, then I kept reading until I did. Okay, and basically, It's like a never-ending, repetitive, iterative loop where you keep questioning the theory and you keep looking into it and you find more and more answers. And you, in turn, learn more and more about it. And after you've looked into, like, okay, I looked into how did the liver evolve? How did the kidney evolve? How did the brain evolve? How did breasts evolve? Mammary glands. And every single time I looked into it, how did bones develop? Basically, how did vertebrates happen? How did tetrapods happen? Fin to limb development. And every time I looked into it, I found a wealth of information. I have a folder on each.
There was an answer, wasn't there, Mike?
There was an answer.
There was an answer. It wasn't magic. There was
no miracle.
Lots and lots of papers and data and fossils and genetics and on and on and on.
Just about every day I get a notification from academia that a new paper has been published or has been cited having to do with a guy named Oftendal, I think, that did most of the mammary gland evolution stuff. He does.
That sounds familiar. I might have got one of those emails.
So there's new papers every day on this.
Look.
And I can look into it until the cows come home, and I don't find any contradictions. And until I do, I'm going to believe in the theory of evolution. So then I went ahead and asked ChatGPT, what is the justification for evolution being a theory? And let's see, based on the adherence to rigorous standards and criteria of the scientific method, extensive evidence, predictive power, testability and falsifiability, consistency with other scientific knowledge. It fits in with chemistry very, very well, and physics. Broad explanatory scope. Evolution explains everything about why our liver is where it is, how our liver develops, all of that stuff. Reproducibility. These experiments can be done over and over again with the same results. Theoretical integration. Not just a single hypothesis, but a comprehensive framework that integrates multiple lines of evidence and explanatory models. It includes such concepts as natural selection, genetic drift, gene flow, which collectively explain how the process happens. So anyway, it's regarded.
I want to thank everybody real quick from Jim Bob's channel for blowing my little short up. It's already got like 200 views. So
yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yep. So because it meets these criteria, the theory of evolution is regarded as one of the foundational principles of modern biology. It is well substantiated and widely accepted explanation for the diversity and complexity of life on Earth. So bite me, Jim Bob.
A deconverted man said, ask ChatGPT, who is cooler, deconverted man or Jim Bob? He said, I just asked, it's funny.
It's going to tell you, okay. Okay, I'll bite.
Who is cooler, deconverted man or Jim Bob?
Okay. Pretty sure it's going to tell me it's deconverted man. Without additional context or information about deconverted manner. Oh, it said manner. What the fuck?
You spelled wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because they ain't going to find it anyway. It's challenging to make a comparison between the two. Could you provide more details about what or who these entities are? And in what context you're comparing their coolness? Jim Bob would ask that question. How are you determining their coolness, right? That'd be one of the things that he threw back at us, right? Anyway.
Deconverted man's got to get the lobsterist into what's the word I'm looking for that ChatGPT searches through?
Large language model?
However, it does the search. Deconverted man's got to get his stuff in there.
The algorithm. He's got to get it.
So he
algorithm.
Gets his lobsterist into the ChatGPT.
Seems like you're asking for a comparison between the two individuals, deconverted man and Jim Bob, based on their coolness. Coolness is a subjective measure and can vary greatly Personality, achievements, style, influence, and background. Okay.
Yeah, and we Mike said some earlier. Jim Bob does have a good little shtick he's got going on over there, and he's got a bunch of followers, and he seems to rake in the money and everything. And hey, whatever,
Yeah.
But
Right.
he wants a philosophical debate, and it's like, well, go find a philosopher. I
Well,
just had
he
one
wants-
thing I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to talk about a million other things.
He wants
really
to
didn't care.
debate on his terms, right? He'll overtalk you if you don't answer exactly. If you don't answer his ridiculous setup questions in the way he wants you to, he will start hammering you, and then eventually the conversation will end, and then he will announce victory. Oh, victory! I mean, it's like, God, if I walk into your house and you start slinging shit at me, and I leave your house and you say victory.
Well,
Yeah.
and we talk about it before, stuff in the chat and everything aside, or whatever, if you want to come on and talk with somebody, at least try to be civil, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as he started calling me a dope and that, it was like, F you, man. I'm not here to be a punching bag. I can take the stupid, but I'm not going to be a punching bag. So.
Yeah.
So he rage quit, and I was like, you called me a dope after you just said evolution's not a theory, after you recited what the theory says, and it was just like, and then you're calling me a dope. I'm like, it was just too much. It's like, I'm out of here. Sorry, I didn't rage quit. I just left.
Yeah, he threw me out once, and I think I quit myself once. But I told him. He said, are you going to answer my questions? And I said, no, I'm not going to answer you stupid questions. And he threw me out. That was the last time I was on there.
Yeah, so a couple times if you watch the whole thing, I said, that's not evolution. I was talking about evolution, right? That's not evolution. Well, what about rainbows? I was like, crap about rainbows either. Well, aren't they part of the natural world? And it's like, yeah, nothing to do with the theory of evolution. Talking about the theory of evolution, and that's the thing and everybody knows that creationists and I guess the philosophies too, they want to take you off on 50 different tangents,
right?
And it's like I didn't want to talk about any of that. All I want to talk about was the definition for evolution. That was it. And I tried to go back, and a couple of times I did say it, and a couple other times when I tried to say it, he was just saying, "Oh, be quiet, shut up, be quiet." And it's like, that's what I was trying to say is it's not evolution. Nothing about evolution. I want to talk about the theory of evolution. That's all I want to talk about. I don't give a crap about your philosophy or your syllogisms or your denial that things are even a theory. I don't care, man. I don't care.
So Jim Bob has a Jordan Peterson impersonation that I just love. He's fantastic at that.
He does that good too.
And he plays guitar and he sings, which I find kind of boring, but he's good at it. He's good at it.
Oh, and Nitty, one of his streams a week or so ago, he said, I was agreeing with Jim Bob today. And I said in the comment, I said, yeah, I saw that. It's something he said for just a short little moment made so much sense, and you're like,
yeah,
well, how did he let that slip through?
He's an Orthodox Christian, I guess, and he doesn't believe in some of the bullshit that Christians believe in, and so you'll find yourself agreeing with him on that. And then I think he hates Trump, or he doesn't think Trump's a good idea. I'm not sure.
He seems to see through some of the baloney with some of these people. He was ragging on Elon and some of the other ones. So he does seem to see through it. But if somebody will give him a super chat for $500 or some, guaranteed Elon will be the greatest thing since sliced bread. So,
well, he's one of these guys that pretty much hates everybody and disagrees with everybody except himself. And I think that's called a narcissist. I don't know.
So as far as all the stuff and the nonsense he spews and everything, I really don't think he's that stupid. I think he feeds his crowd, and he knows exactly what he's doing and the right things to say. So yeah, evolution is stupid because that's a big thing with the religious and evangelicals and the conspiracies and everybody else. It's all science to convince you that you're related to a carrot or something, and to deny God, of course. And I think he slips that in there too. It's just another thing to get rid of God or something like that. And they're all there. You can pick them up if you listen to them, which is really hard to do.
If you believe in God, everything is explained. I mean, everything's just absolutely, falls in place, right? And yeah, it's just like, if you wake up in the morning on Christmas, there's a bunch of presents under the tree that weren't there the night before. If you believe in Santa Claus, it just adequately explains that whole thing to you. You can pick Santa Claus, or you can pick God, or you can pick Zeus, or whatever the fuck you want.
Talking about Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson does the same thing too. He knows how to feed the crowd, but when he's talking, it's like, man, I don't think he's making any sense at all. If you take notes and look at it later, you'd be like, what the hell was he trying to say? I get totally lost even trying to listen to him.
I was listening to him the other day, and he was talking about mythos and culture, and he was talking about the collective unconscious, and I actually fucking agreed with him on something.
Uh-oh.
So I shut the TV off and took a nap. I started agreeing with Jordan Peterson. I'm out of here, man. I'm just like, you got to fucking. I'm gonna have to not seek re-election.
I think Jim Bob though is smart enough to know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And as far as all the other stuff, he wants to play all that philosophy garbage like he does with a lot of other people and stuff. And aha, you're a big dummy. It's like, okay, fine, because I don't really give a crap. Okay. It's the same thing I tell anybody. Same thing you run into in Donnie Deal's chats or something. Whoa, why don't you pop on and explain all the biology to me? And it's like, oh yeah, sure, I'm going to do that in 20 minutes or something. And no. People go to school for years and years and years to learn these things. There's a lecture series. I tell people, look, go check out this lecture series from Yale University, top school, right? This class probably cost the people that were actually there a lot of money. Yeah. You can take it for free. Yeah. So as soon as they go and look that it's 36 lectures over an hour each, right? I'm not watching 36 lectures. And it's like, would you want me to explain all that to you in 20 minutes?
I don't want to change my mind. That would be horrible.
But yeah, I don't care, Jim Bob. You totally wrecked me, brother. Okay, I'm so wrecked. I'm wrecked through and through. Okay, you did. Universities around the globe are still teaching biology, and they don't care what the hell you're saying. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
You did a good job yesterday, actually, and you did, Jim. But it's amazing. Right after you got off, he was demolished, and it's like, oh, you fucking idiots! It's just like, what?
I slipped and I told him to F off. I try not to let him get to me, but it was too much. And so I did tell him to F off, but
no, you got to tell him to fuck off, because that's Jim Bob's. I mean, it's Jim Bob. Of course you have to tell him to fuck off.
Like I say, I was trying to be civil, and I even told him, you can call me Dave, and I'll trying to be, and oh, this and that, you big dope or something like that. And it was just like, oh, that was just too much. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, when he does that, I call him an idiot, and I just go head to head with him. It's like, you fucking whatever.
That's not what I was there for. I wanted to talk about one thing, and I'm not going to be a punching bag. So for yucks in the chat and everything, it's like, nope, sorry. You can say I'm, my grandma was a monkey and I came from a rock and all that. I really don't care. Okay. But you bring guests on, you should at least extend a little bit of courtesy, right? And just try to be civil. And if you're going to call names, it's like, I'm just done.
Yep. I'm probably going to have Kafai on because he said I strawmanned him. I'm going to have to let him respond at some point. But not today. I kind of want to get out of here. I got some running to do, some banking. I got to go buy avocados, man. I'm almost out of avocados. Yeah.
Oh, it's out of, oh no, can't have that.
That would.
I got a watermelon I've got to cut up.
Yeah, got to do
My
that.
wife said, make sure you cut up the watermelon. I cut up the watermelon.
Let's
Forget to cut up the watermelon, Dave. Don't forget.
Epistemology course is a prerequisite to biology, or would you need a course in biology in order to understand epistemology? I understand epistemology based on neuroscience and biology. I would not go epistemology first. I'd basically figure out what brains can and do, and then go from there. But that's just, because I'm a scientist, right? I do everything with science. So anyway.
And I don't, like I say, I thought it was funny. I was having a laugh. Jim Knob thinks he blah 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 and destroyed me. Well, anything else he says, or I've gotten a lot of comments from his folks in my on my videos and stuff. And it's like, I don't care. Okay, I don't care. It's the same thing I tell everybody from Ken Ham's pages, Donnie Deal's pages, the Hawaiian shirt guy, all the rest of them. I really don't care because you guys have been doing this for like 70 years now, and none of your stuff has gotten into a textbook anywhere. Nothing. Zero. So that's how little I care.
Yeah.
As much as academia does about putting your stuff in the textbooks is how much I care about it when you talk about it.
Anyway, so yes, sometimes it would be cool if they wanted to actually know about evolution and why we believe it. But you could never get them down to that point, right? Where you start talking about, okay, so a little frequency changes, right? So how does that contribute to speciation? Well, there's a very direct path that you can talk about. They never want to hear about that part, right? They never want to find out, how can microevolution turn into macroevolution or any of that. They never want to get down to that point because they have no interest in an honest discussion. They want to believe in God. They want to get elected so that they can make all of us believe in God. And that's just where they leave it lay. It's a fucking problem with religion in this country.
And you don't hear them, going on and on about the evils of germ theory, or the evils of plate tectonic theory or atomic theory, or there's a long list of them. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't hear about any of those. Well, Jim Bob did deny plate tectonics, and some of them deny some things about germs and stuff, but they don't go on and on about it. That's their boogeyman, is evolution.
Creationists don't deny plate tectonics, except they think it all happened during the flood.
Really fast.
Yeah. Those continents were cruising at about 45 miles an hour, and then they, as Raw Matt said, they rammed into each other. Like India rammed into the European continent, and if it hadn't rammed into it, it could not have formed mountains because it had to be going really fast in order to push the mountains up. It's like, okay, you jackass.
Jim Bob repeated, I think it's the Hawaiian shirt guy that says, it's not like the continents are floating like lily pads in a pond. And I think it was Thunderfoot that debunked that, maybe other people too. But that, yes, the continents are like lily pads floating in a pond. It's a matter of density and all those things, and it's floating on top. And and it's, again, that slipped through out of Jim Bob's mouth, and it's like, he's slipping it in there. He just doesn't have a Hawaiian shirt on and bashing a SpongeBob with a pacifier in his mouth like some kind of idiot.
Okay, let's get out of here, Dave.
All right, Mike. Good talking to you.
Okay, we're gonna quit. Okay, how do I?
Thanks. Oh, and thanks for everybody. We had a lot of people joining us today, by the way. There was
Yeah.
a bunch of folks on my channel too. And thanks
Yeah.
everybody for stopping by.
You had more on your channel than I had on mine. You kicked my ass. Good. Okay. Goodbye, cruel world.